Well, welcome to the Hospitality Playbook, your go-to space for real talk, real stories, and real strategies from the world of hospitality. So take a seat, get inspired, and let's kick off today's episode. Well, good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Hospitality Playbook. My name is Caleb Arsenault. Let's go around the room, and I'll let each one of you introduce yourselves to the audience. Start to my left here with David.
My name is David Kleinsma. I'm the Chief Information Officer for Liv Hospitality.
Ken Klug, Chief Financial Officer.
Katie Radigan, Chief Operations Officer.
Britton Simmonsma, Chief Revenue Officer.
And I'm Caleb Arsenault, the CEO of Liv Hospitality. And, it's been a few weeks since we've been on recording a podcast, so we'll have to knock some of the rust off, but I think you guys get right into this. We've got kind of a fun topic today. We want to talk about kind of just tourism in general and how it affects the Black Hills from an economic and financial standpoint. So we'll kind of get in the weeds a little bit and talk about, what some of those metrics mean, how it influences things. So when people think about tourism in the Black Hills, they think about Mount Rushmore, Deadwood, summer road trips, and big events. But behind all of that is a real economic engine: the hotels, restaurants, and attractions, and the people who work in them. That plays a huge role in jobs, wages, and tax revenue across our region. And today we're going to explain the business side of the tourism in plain English, no jargon, and no inside baseball, and share what the numbers mean for everyday life in Rapid City, Deadwood, and the Black Hills. And to make this practical, again, I'm joined by our CFO, COO, CRO, and CIO. There's a lot of C's and O's. But you all look at it from very different angles. So I'm really excited to ask you questions to bring your perspective into what it means from your perspective on those topics. So let's get into our first segment. Why does tourism matter? Let's start with big picture. Tourism isn't just about fun. It's a major economic driver, number 2 industry in our state, and visitor spending supports jobs, wages, and tax revenue and helps fund public services. So my first question goes to our Chief Financial Officer, Ken. From a finance lens, when people hear tourism economy, what are the 2 to 3 money signals you watch first? Is it cash flow, tax receipts, job counts, or something else?
What I really watch is the revenue. You can watch the revenue on a daily basis, and the revenue will help you translate into your cash flow because 75% of your business is in 3 months, and so if you don't have a great summer, you won't be able to get through the winter. We don't cash flow in the winter, and so if you don't have the summer revenues to help make that go, we are not in that economic situation to get through without the tourism boom.
Right, the volatility of that revenue and subsequent cash flow. So let's get the crayons out. In the simplest way possible, explain to me, what does cash flow mean?
Cash flow is simply the amount of cash you bring in versus the cash that you pay out in wages, utilities, supplies, inventory you buy, debt payments, property taxes, all of your cash, everything that you pay. Like a loan payment won't be an expense, but it still has to be accounted for as a distribution of cash out of your account.
Right. So at the end of the day, it's what's left in the till after you pay all your bills.
Right.
And then, so when visitor demand shifts, Ken, what shows up first in the financials in terms of metrics? Is it revenue, costs, or both?
Usually it'll show up in the costs more so because the revenues are a lot of them are based on per occupant or per room occupied. So if you have less rooms sold, you'll save money there. But if you're not getting the room revenue, if you're selling for $100 instead of $120, you just miss that 20 because you still have to, clean the room and serve breakfast and all the things that go along with that. So if you don't have the incremental rate, then that's what really is the worst possible scenario because you're spending the same amount of money, but you're not bringing in the excess. That's what really shows up when we do a daily flash report and you start looking at it like, oh, compared to last year, this is where we're trending. Like, that's good or not, or
Yeah, because a lot of our costs are fixed based on that occupied room, right? So it
Right.
flows, and that margin kind of stays in place based on how that revenue is trending.
Yeah, most of the time your cash will lag a couple months behind that.
Right.
As you like, oh, we're paying net 30, so you're paying the bill 30 days afterwards, so you don't really see the difference in that.
Especially if you're a convention meeting or group hotel.
Right.
You have a lot of net 30, which ends up being a net 60-day pay. So when you're looking at your cash flows, you're not going to have that money in the till until 45, 30, 45, 60 days later.
Right.
So let's move over to Katie, our Chief Operating Officer. Operationally, when the market's busy, what does that mean on the ground? Staffing, supply ordering, maintenance, guest experience. So we're coming up on peak.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean?
We start heavily focusing on guest service. Staffing is always the biggest one. It's one of the hardest things. Being seasonal is getting to appropriate levels at appropriate times, not doing it too quickly or too slowly, and making sure those new associates are trained and ready to hit the ground running, because it is truly like a light switch here. We go from 60% to just insanely busy literally overnight. So making sure we have the bodies around and available to help with that. But when it's busy and always busy during peak, it's going to sound so crazy, but it's so much easier.
So much easier. I totally agree.
Because we're not playing the game of the volatility of the staffing markets. The staff is here. They're ready to work. They're willing to work. They're eager to work. And one of the hardest challenges is alleviated because we just have a really steady core.
And we often talk about that switch from shoulder season to peak season, and it literally does seem to happen overnight. It's not like you get a month to ramp up. It's a matter of days. Even from a rate perspective, we're always talking about, let's not miss that point. That inflection point is so critical to our success and getting the staff ready, as you described. It's something that I think over the years, you and your team have just done an incredible job of really honing in, looking for all of the indices that will tell you, hey, now's the time, it's go time, and being staffed up and ready to go. That's great. So what's the biggest operational challenge in a seasonal market? Talk about the staffing, right? So when you're busy, it's easier in a lot of ways.
It is.
What are some of the other challenges?
On the other end of the busy, you're trying to find the right time to go from a full staff to not a full staff. We talk about the light switch turning on for peak. It happens just as fast from shoulder to off season. And if you miss that by a couple of days, it's a lot of money across our portfolio every single day because we're staffed too heavy, or we ordered too many supplies, or whatever the case is. So really looking on the back end of that curve and making sure we're really ready for it to wind down.
So give me a sense of what are some of the leading indicators of it turning on or off. Is it front desk? Is it housekeeping? Is it restaurants? Like, what tells you it's go time? Because we're such a leisure, family-driven destination, it's really when our clientele starts, when our guests start changing. When you start seeing less kids around, it's coming. It just, I don't know, winter is coming, as one of the shows say. It is really coming right around the corner. So when we start seeing less kids and kind of more couple travelers, we know it's really right around the corner. One of my dreams would be to have summer vacation extended. So if we could have the kids off school for a longer period, that would be absolute killer for our leisure travel destination here in the Black Hills. So, maybe we'll work on that someday. Britton, let's shift over to the revenue side. What does a healthy tourism market feel like in the booking data? Is it more lead time, higher willingness to pay, fewer discounts? So talk about what that feels like as we start to ramp up.
So when everything feels good and it feels really strong, the booking windows tends to be further out. When people are feeling good about their travel, they're looking forward to it, they're booking it further in advance. It's a lot more looking for the experience and maybe less price sensitive, looking for more add-ons, room upgrades. Maybe they're going to stay a little bit longer.
Certainly easier to revenue manage when people are willing to spend, right? So, the excitement of that vacation, we've all been there with our families, and it's like, hey, let's go. And it's almost like cost is no obstacle. We're gonna have the experience. We're gonna do it.
I'm going to get the room that I really want.
Exactly, which is prime time for those upgrades, right? We can upsell to those suites and those bigger rooms and better experiences. So what's the hardest to balance during this time? Is it occupancy or pricing?
When it's the strong market and it's our peak season, to me, the pricing is more important. Our occupancy will fall in line with our pricing. So it's always a challenge to find the sweet spot of, did I price too aggressively and now I have rooms left that I didn't sell? Or did I price it too low and didn't plan it to maximize our rooms? And now I'm out of rooms and everybody's here.
So as you're looking at the totality of the inventory we have to move, what role do the segments play? So if you look at leisure versus group versus business travel, again, we're talking about ramping into peak. Explain how those segments play in that space.
Well, we're obviously very heavy in our leisure market, especially a bit more in one of our markets than the other. But group is always very important to us. It gives us some consistency, even more so in the off times. But we have a lot of groups throughout the peak season as well. Our business travelers help us fill during weekdays when maybe our families aren't all here yet. So they're all really important.
No doubt about it. David, let's go to you. Let's talk some tech and data in particular. What do you trust most to tell you what's happening? Is it reservation trends, rate shopping, point of sale, or something else? And, we have our cool proprietary system that you were an author of back in the day. And talk about that.
Well, data and what's happening, that's pretty broad. I know operationally, I'm looking at utilization, average ticket age, that sort of thing. From a security side, it's more like audit logs and, other kind of security indicators. From the hospitality side, I personally don't analyze that data directly, but I am certainly responsible for making sure that all of it is available and reliable for everybody, talking about the data miner system and how we aggregate all that data together from multiple different sources. That way everybody else around this table can make those quick and accurate decisions.
We always say garbage in, garbage out, right? So we want nice, clean data that tells the real story. So when we're making these decisions multiple, sometimes hundreds of times a day, we have the right data to make those decisions. So where does technology actually help the guest and the business at the same time? So when you look at the experience of staying with us or playing with us or dining with us, where does that merge?
I think it's any scenario where it removes friction, honestly. If staff doesn't have to worry about re-entering the data, chase information, deal with preventable system issues, things like that, they can then focus on the guest. Behind the scenes, that same efficiency improves reliability and consistency.
So AI has been a topic of conversation in our group for months and months now. So what's one myth about AI in hospitality that you want to clear up?
Yeah, and I know I've stood in front of people saying this again. I don't think AI will one-to-one directly replace people in our industry. I think the real impact of AI comes from the hundreds of small time savings, and we've done a lot of education with various staff members on that front. Helping everyone to do their job a little bit faster, a little better, and a little less friction again. So when you multiply that across an organization our size, that's where the value really shows up.
So the myth is it's not replacing people.
No.
It's just making people more productive.
Yes.
I like it. Okay, let's talk about seasonality and why the summer carries the year for us. We've all kind of talked about, We're kind of in that transitional shoulder period right now. In the hills, seasonality is real, and that volatility is real. Peak season can carry a big portion of the year, and event weekends matter. In our particular company, we're about close to 80% of our revenues come during our peak season. So without it, we wouldn't survive. So, Britton, this one's for you. When you're heading into peak season, what do you watch most closely? The pace, the pickup, group blocks, booking window, or competitor pricing?
All of it. Just kidding.
D, all of the above?
D, all of the above. With group blocks, that's probably not at top of my list. It's important. It's a chunk of our inventory, but our team manages it. So we know well in advance what's happening there. Generally last minute changes. So that one's not at the top of my list. Booking windows are critical. Sometimes you may have your rate set incorrectly because you think that you've missed the booking window, or you don't realize you aren't in it yet. So watching those really closely is very important to make sure you're set. You don't panic, basically, and you know when that booking window is happening.
So how has dynamic pricing model, and in our company and in our industry as a whole, we use kind of the airline model of pricing, right? It's a dynamic pricing model. How has that evolved in recent years?
And as long as I've been with the company, we have followed dynamic pricing, but I've watched others that haven't. Really makes it kind of easy to know what's going on in the market. You see some that just set their rates based off of winter season, summer season. It's become faster. So with all of the tech at our fingertips and all of the data, decisions can be made a lot quicker and you can move a lot faster, but that's also available to the whole market. So everybody a lot of people have shifted, I feel like, to the dynamic pricing with tech
Absolutely.
over the years.
You rarely see any set it and forget it pricing models anymore. What are the biggest challenges in balancing occupancy and ADR?
I think that's similar to what I alluded to earlier. Just making sure, we never want to have a room unsold if we were able to sell it. Can't ever resell that room once the day passes. So just finding that right price to sell all of our rooms that we have available.
So in our peak season, demand is high. So an expectation in our company is we sell every room every night.
Mm-hmm.
So, and people are waiting to hear from us when they don't, because they understand the expectation is that we do. And it's a perishable asset we never get to sell again. So we want to capture as much revenue as we can. So making sure, I always joke that revenue management, you can never win because you didn't charge enough or you charge too much. And in finding that balance and sweet spot is so critical. And at the end of the day, RevPAR is what matters, right? Mm-hmm. Revenue per available room. Katie, let's shift over to you. When an event weekend hits, what changes operationally within 24 hours? Scheduling, service standards, inventory, food ordering. How does the magic happen?
Yeah, I think the one thing about our area is our events, for the most part, are annual. So there aren't a ton of surprise events. We either have them every year or every other year. One thing our team has gotten really good at is not waiting until the 24 hours before the event. We're really planning between 10 and 14 days out, making sure we have enough associates. We're not going to run out of anything. Everybody's prepared. And then when the guests arrive, we're truly just ready for them. And it's just so much more fun for the team because they can be out there interacting and enjoying whatever event is happening. Deadwood does a great job with St. Patrick's Day and Mardi Gras, and those are a lot of fun events that the team really enjoy participating in and being out on the floors for. So it's cool to watch them be able to shine on that side because we're ready way before they even get there.
I can speak from firsthand experience. I went to Easter brunch yesterday, and I can promise you the team out at the box was ready way before 24 hours, and they were on it. And it was an incredible experience and very high execution.
There's always little fires. There's always something happening. But hopefully it's never a guest impact or guest facing. And sometimes that happens too, and we just got to kind of roll with the punches. But the team is really good at adapting and correcting course and kind of going the other direction if we need to sometimes.
So let's give our listeners a little peek behind the curtain. What do most guests not realize is happening behind the scenes during a sellout weekend?
I always think one of the things that we didn't really touch on, but were kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, is like the ripple effect. If one thing goes wrong in this train of cleaning rooms or checking guests in or whatever, I mean, it really will ruin your entire weekend because it's almost impossible, it feels, to get caught back up. So one thing we have learned the hard way more times than we'd probably ever like to admit is like never ever be short on washcloths or hand towels. It just seems so small, but it's so easy to forget when you're running a hotel. You know, those guest items become less important because they're somewhere. But if your laundry doesn't get done or you don't have enough laundry to clean your rooms, boy, it really ruins your day. So you just have people working around the clock, literally between laundry and cleaning and cooking and, you know, all of the things just to make sure there's always bodies there doing stuff that the guest will never see.
Right. It's where the magic happens. How do you protect guest experience when labor is tight? And, you know, we have about 1.8% unemployment in South Dakota, and I think it's less than that in the hills. So how do you protect that experience?
It is our most important thing. The guest experience, the guest service, and ensuring our team and our associates know that they are truly the number one important thing for us. From their perspective, right? So when a guest walks in or when you're in front of a guest or whatever the case is, they are the ones who hold all of our attention. We never want to run too thin where that starts wavering. And it's a really fine balance. You know, we talk about kind of the balance between occupancy and ADR. The staffing level balance is just as fine. We just really want to make sure we have enough people around to make sure our guests are always taken care of.
And I think we've been fortunate. We've been focused on it, and I think your team has executed it. But I think the people make a difference. I think when you have someone who is has a spirit to serve, and our team definitely exudes that. There's a little more forgiveness in there from the guests too.
Totally.
So if you make eye contact, if you acknowledge a guest, if they're waiting in a line to check in, whatever it might be, it matters. And those little details and touch points. So
we've also talked about tech a lot. On the operational side, we've come a long way too, even in, you know, the past 5 years. Every year it gets better and every year it changes. But, you know, our systems are faster. Our guest has to do less when they arrive, or, you know, we're not handing out hard keys and having people fill out registration cards at check-in. All of those small touch points just to enhance the experience have made a big difference too.
Absolutely. Ken, let's throw it over to the finance side. Why does a strong peak season matter so much, and what actually gets paid for during those high demand weeks?
Well, if you want to make it through the winter, you better have a good summer, because you have negative cash flows in the winter. And so the peak summer allows you to save up some money to do renovations, to look at new projects if you wanted to do that. Without the summer, the renovations, you can't pay for them. It just, there's nothing there.
We were just talking about it prior to jumping on our podcast about, you know, the renovation efforts that we have going currently in our company, and, you know, analyzing and figuring out cash flows and trying to figure out how we're going to pay for all of this stuff. The summer is the key to that.
Right. And you know, the thing about renovations that sometimes not everybody takes into account is, like, you're going to have a floor of rooms down. You can't sell it all. You can only sell at best 60% of your hotel, even if it's busy. And I'm like, you're going to miss some revenue there, which will eventually show up somewhere.
And that's a hard cost that I think operators, I know I certainly have forgotten it before, that we don't underwrite into the overall costs of the renovation, is you're going to be closed. You're going to have a floor or two that will be closed for that effort. When you build an annual budget, how do you account for seasonality? So when we're looking at previous years, how do you kind of just factor that in when we're planning cash flow?
Well, we work on a 12-month thing, and we take last year's revenue and like, okay, is there going to be any changes in last year's revenue? Is it going to be up? Is it going to be down? We adjust our projected cash flow from that, and then we look into like, okay, what are our costs going to come up? Are we going to have a renovation that we need to pay for the next 5 months over this time period that we're going to have to come up with the cash? You have to project when your property taxes are due. And Atlantis, one of our properties, it is a lot of money, and it doesn't just come out of the couch cushions. You gotta plan for it, or you just won't have the money to pay your property taxes.
You know, property taxes has been such a topic of conversation around the state
Yeah.
this legislative session, and it is real. It is a big number, and you know, I think a lot of the focus has been on the residential side of property taxes, which is a real problem. But there's also the property tax on the commercial side that's massive. And you know, I do like my roads to be in good condition, and I like things to be kept and maintained at the county, city, and state levels. But yeah, those are real expenses that if you're not calculating in, you're in trouble because it's going to bite you.
This episode of the Hospitality Playbook is brought to you by Liv Hospitality. Did you know Liv Hospitality operates 13 hotels, 4 premier resorts, and a portfolio of standout restaurants? Behind every exceptional guest experience, culinary innovation, and high-performing team is a management group built for results. Whether you're an independent hotel owner looking to elevate performance or a new investor seeking trusted operators, Liv Hospitality offers full-service management built on decades of operational excellence. From luxury to leisure, every touchpoint is tailored to your property's identity while driving strong returns. If you're thinking about what's next for your property, think Liv. Let us show you what's possible when passion meets performance. Visit livhotelgroup.com, that's livhotelgroup.com to learn more.
Let's go to David here. What tools help you predict busy periods more accurately? So maybe talk a little bit about the forecast models, data miner, dashboards. Like what have you developed from a technology side to recognize these patterns?
Well, I got a funny answer for this one, but I'll come to that later. From a serious point, it is data miner. I'm going to be very biased towards that one. We've put a lot of work and time into that, and the data aggregation, it's gotten faster over the years. I think we're down to 15 minutes in a best case scenario, how often the data is updated everywhere. But, all the forecasts and everything else, it only works if that data is complete and accurate. And we certainly have seen through some various data sources that, it can be inaccurate. And we have to filter out some of that stuff there. But, my job is really making sure that the leaders, Britton talked about it, can make those very fast decisions and make sure they are able to do that when peak season decisions need to happen fast. Now, my funny answer to this, though, is on the IT side. Katie, you were out on vacation last week. And we see it in the service ticket numbers. It drops whenever either Katie or Caleb goes on a vacation. And then it drops in the summer seasons, too. So we see the seasonality. When our service ticket drops, it's busier. And that's pretty across various industries. When that industry is busy, service ticket drops because they're all heads down getting stuff done. And then when they slow down, their service ticket count increases. And then when you come back.
Katie, I think what David said is you and I are very important to this effort.
Yeah.
I think is what he was trying to say
the service
there.
ticket count.
You're out there seeing stuff, talking to people, telling people, and then we see the counts increase.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fun.
Let's shift gears a little bit and let's just talk about kind of basics when it comes to, finance and the hotel hospitality realm. So let's simplify the 3 hotel metrics people hear. We talked about occupancy, average daily rate, and we talked a little bit about RevPAR. So basically, how full you were, what you charged for that, and then how productive the building was. So Ken, coming to you, when those 3 metrics move, what do you translate them into for decision making? Cash available, ability to reinvest, or risk level?
I think the biggest one is the ability to reinvest in your properties. If you wanted to look at any kind of expansion, like, hey, we want to put in a POS system. What's that going to cost? What that's going to be? How productive will that be? What incremental difference will it make? I think you see a lot of that. And the risk is, there's always a certain amount of risk with doing anything. And like, oh, we want to go and do some new venture and do into this and that. Do we have the cash to fall back if it doesn't work the way we think it's going to work? Will we be okay? We don't want to put ourselves in a problem where it's like, well, if this doesn't work, we're in a bad place.
Yeah, and how much do you stress test that, right? Like
how much
what
can
kind
you?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you can sit and make forecasts all day, but you won't know until you start going down the road and like, oh.
We often talk about pace. Like, what does the business on the books look like for our hotels, right? And, over the years, I think it's something we track that is really important, but also you can't put a lot of stock in it because it changes. Mm-hmm. And there's so many variables involved in that. For example, this year, the booking window is much smaller than it has been, previously. And we've had a couple years of kind of this bifurcated booking window where you have product moving in the short term and then product moving in the very long term, 90 plus days, and not a lot in the middle. So it just changes. And so you have to be prepared for those.
Right. And if your group is what is usually a longer term, and when that drops off, that was 30 rooms that we have to now be able to sell.
So if you wanted to kind of blow someone's mind, what is the most misunderstood part of hotel profitability by the general public?
That everything you charge just is profit. I mean, there's just so much that goes into keeping a hotel open, and the employees and all the supplies and things like that. It just, all the things you have to subscribe to. Well, the other thing is the franchise fees that all the hotels charge. That's a nice chunk of change.
Right off the top.
Right off the top. I mean, and if you don't pay it, then you don't have a franchise. So
right.
I think a lot of people think that about a lot of businesses. Like, yeah, but you don't not take into account like your employee costs is going to be a certain percentage, or franchise are going to be, between 8 and 12%.
I totally agree. I think the general public would be surprised how much of that $100 room we actually keep as profit. I think it would be very eye-opening for them.
Right.
Britton, let's come to you. From a revenue standpoint, how do you decide when to push rate versus chase volume and heads and beds?
Generally, in the off season, it's going to be more about volume. There's no real opportunity to do a whole lot in the pricing strategy. So we're able to push rate when it's peak travel time, when we have people coming to town, when it's an event, holiday. So.
Okay. And so how do loyalty programs impact your revenue strategy?
So all of our brands have loyalty programs where it's a benefit to us as members of that program will book direct. So on the back end, we can save some of those commissions that we pay to third-party booking sites. They're generally repeat guests. They're very loyal to the brands, so we know they're coming to see us, and they generally have a little bit higher spend and higher ADR.
So would you, I guess, categorize off-season as we'll take any guest, it's heads and beds, it's going to be, the volume game,
yeah.
But then the summer we can maybe be a little more selective and maybe describe it as the right guest that doesn't have all of these other fees associated with the acquisition.
Yep.
Katie, let's go to you. When occupancy's high, What's the operational risk? Is it service recovery, cleanliness, wait times, maintenance backlog? So when we're running 100% occupied through months and months of the summer, what's the highest operational risk?
Well, I honestly, all of it. I think there isn't one that really outweighs the other because it is all from service recovery, wait times, cleanliness of rooms, maintenance of rooms, conditions of rooms. Same with conditions of your restaurant or wait times in your restaurants or all of those things. Anything that impacts the guest is really, really something we've just got to keep the bright lights on all of the time. Yeah, and it's so much harder to get into rooms. So from a maintenance side or a condition side, it's a lot harder to get in there because they're sold every night. So
Right, you have a couple-hour window between check out and check in where you
Yeah.
have to make the repairs or you have to,
and we
make
want
it
to sell the
happen.
room that night.
Yes,
So-
absolutely.
Whatever it takes.
And you and the team do a great job of making sure that room is available every single night to be sold.
We've
And
gone through
in
some
good
crazy
repair.
instances.
Absolutely. Floods. Yes, all of the above. Okay, I want to get into a little bit of what does a healthy market look like? So I'll go to each one of you here. A healthy market isn't just being busy, it's stable demand, thoughtful growth, pricing that supports reinvestment, and operations that protect the guest experience. So Katie, coming back to you, what does healthy look like operationally? Is it staff retention, consistent standards, fewer fire drills, fewer floods? Like what does healthy look like to you?
It's a two-part for us, really. I feel is staff retention or core staff. Those are truly the heartbeats of everything we do. And the other side of that is really stabilized operational costs. We haven't felt that in quite a few years at this point. We're kind of getting used to riding the roller coaster, which is never really fun. But once healthy returns or continues to return, those two things will be key drivers in the profitability of our operations.
So healthy is profitable to you.
Yes,
That's
totally.
to summarize. And we all know this at the table, but again, Katie and her team have done a great job of trying to procure appropriately, shift vendors, really watch those margins and be able to manage our number one cost of labor and finding that balance and that sweet spot to protect the profitability. And I would concur with you. That is definitely my definition of healthy. Britton, let's go to you. What does healthy look like commercially? Stronger booking windows, less discounting, balanced segments. What's healthy?
The further out booking windows for our guests, a good balance between all of our segments. So we're not missing a lot of group business this year. We have some group in the mix with our business travelers and our leisure travelers. Able to sort of restrict the discounts a little bit. Maybe we're able to pull back on third-party sites a little bit if we have enough business elsewhere. So
I will affectionately describe the OTAs as a necessary evil. They're expensive.
very.
So the acquisition costs, but consumers, travelers, guests are using those.
Yep.
And those companies have done a good job of having loyal clients. What does the future of OTAs look like? Is it going to continue to be the juggernaut that it is? Do you think people will move away from it to something else? What's the future look like?
I think they'll continue, but there's a lot with AI coming into the booking process as well. And so hopefully that will help us drive some of that more direct versus the OTAs.
So I shouldn't expect them to go away soon.
No.
Okay. I can always dream.
Yes.
David, let's go to you. Healthy. What does that look like in data, reporting, trusted dashboards, fewer surprises, fewer break fixes?
Exactly all that. Yeah, fewer surprises. That's it. People can trust the data, have confidence in the numbers. Reports are consistent, and dashboards can be leaned upon. yeah, as long as the business can focus on growth and not recovery, that's where healthy is.
And our company's always embraced knowledge is power. And our knowledge comes from data, not what we think we know, but what does the data actually tell us? So making those objective data-driven decisions, I mean, I can make the argument that you and your team are the most important cog to that wheel, because it all starts with having clean data to support the direction and decisions we're making. And without it, we're in trouble.
Yeah, and then, part of our role here in IT is to mitigate some of the risks associated with the data, make sure monitoring, backups, all those other things, because it is such a core piece, and we want a healthy is making sure that bad day does not happen.
Exactly. The unsung hero, right? If you're on the front end of this stuff, it's probably a bad day, right?
Right, yeah. If we're doing our jobs perfectly, you never see us.
Exactly.
You don't get a call from me on a Saturday.
More tickets from Katie and Caleb. Yes. Ken, what does healthy look like for you? Predictable cash flows, fewer major variances, and budgets we can actually execute.
I love nice solid cash flows. The other thing, I think, an overall economic health of the Black Hills or of the state or of the nation, your lending partners are less stressed. And so we have numerous properties, we have numerous loans that are always coming due, that you're always working on, okay, we have this loan that needs to renew, and if that lending partner is not feeling very confident about what we're doing, you may face higher rates, and to have a healthy economy in general really makes things much smoother to get deals done and to move forward with refinancing, things like that, and that makes a big difference.
In the hospitality industry, most owners have financing involved in their assets. Very few are fully cash acquisitions or mergers or builds. So you're right, that environment with rates, your lending relationships, they all matter. And you and the team have done a great job making sure those lenders understand how committed we are to making sure that this all works, that we're going to be a good partner with them and they with us. So I think that partnership has gone a long ways in our company over the years too.
And I think there's a lot of lenders that I don't know how much experience they had in the hospitality area. So you have to, we expect this ratio. Well, we're never going to have that ratio because that's not the way we're built. We're going to have this and this and this, and we're going to have a certain amount we reinvest over a certain number of years.
Yeah.
And they go, well, we always do it this way. I'm like,
if you measure a debt service coverage ratio
Right.
monthly, we're going to be in trouble in the winter months, right? Because it's pretty lean and we're negative. Measure it in the summer, it's going to be fantastic. So to take that volatility out, you're right. We've had to do some
take it over 12
quote unquote
months
training with our lender partners to make sure they understand our business and our cadence on that.
Right, and just tell them up front, like, well, if you want to have these ratios, I'm just telling you, we're going to fail these in the winter. We're just never going to get them.
Yeah, and we don't ever want to go into a deal knowing that, right? We want to go in knowing we're going to be successful.
Right.
So.
How can you feel secure that we're going to make sure and pay your debt, and we're going to make sure that we're doing what we need to as a good partner to make sure we comply with your covenants and your loans.
Absolutely. All right, I'm going to do a little quick bonus round, lightning round. One sentence each for you guys. So I'll let you kind of complete this sentence for me. Katie, I'm going to start with you. The one operational truth about peak season is blank.
It's fun.
I love it. I love it.
I don't know. Yeah, that's it, I think.
Making money's fun.
It's exhausting and it's really fun.
Yeah. We're kind of built for it, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
Yep.
Awesome. Ken, let's go to you. The one financial metric most people should understand is blank because of blank.
I think the one thing you should really understand is cash flows, because if you do not, you will find yourself in a world of hurt come the middle of December, January.
Yeah, it's going to
When
eat
the
into
wolves
your
at the
cash
door.
balances, and
Yeah.
you're going to be cash negative. Absolutely. David, the most underrated tool in hospitality right now is blank.
I think everyone's expecting me to say AI to this one, but I'm going to kind of spin it to staff enablement. You know, training them and giving them tools such as AI and other things to be a daily accelerator for them.
Yeah, I don't think AI is going to take over the world and replace people. It's a powerful tool in the toolbox. Well stated. Okay, Britton, last but not least, the biggest pricing mistake in seasonal markets is blank.
Not making data-driven decisions.
That's a good one. I like it. Well played. Brownie points.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you know, I think we've talked about a lot and kind of touched upon some of the more focused, important elements that we as a company really strive to really dig in and do and execute at a very high level. And at the end of the day, tourism in the Black Hills is more than scenery and souvenirs. It's an economic system that provides jobs, businesses, and public services. And hotels, restaurants, casinos sit right in the middle of it. So thanks to our audience for listening. Thank you all for being a part of this. Next time, we might just get into how these single events really create a ripple effect through our economy. We didn't even get into discussions about bids and the taxes and some of the money that helps drive some of these really great events that our locals and visitors get to enjoy. So maybe we'll delve into that in a future segment, in a future podcast. But thank you all for listening. Please hit subscribe, give us a like, enter your comments. We'd love to hear from you. If you agree or disagree, we're always in for a nice discussion about those things. So again, thank you for listening. Thank you to the four of you for being here, and we'll see you next time on the Hospitality Playbook. 5 voices, 1 mission. Welcome to the Hospitality Playbook.
How do I stop this thing?
No.